Alright, so welcome to our first official video tutorial. It's the first time doing this, so we'll see how far this goes. I'm not sure how far we're going to be able to take it. I don't want this to run over an hour, so we'll see how far we go. But today I wanted to demonstrate one of the most straightforward techniques for digital painting. Doesn't make it the easiest, but it makes it the most straightforward. You don't have to learn any fancy new techniques. You basically just paint on the screen. So we've got this nice little square composition set up. I like to do everything in print resolution, just just because it looks nicer when you scale down for the web, and if I ever wanted to print this out, this would be perfect. So it's 11 inches by 11 inches, 300 dpi, lots of space. So before I actually start painting, I want to set up two windows. Ideally, you would have two monitors set up so that you could have one monitor for looking at your composition in small scale to see what it looks like, and your working monitor that you can actually work on and zoom in for details. But since I don't have that set up on the laptop here, we're just going to do the two window thing. So I'm going to keep this one way at this aspect ratio at 12%, and this is going to be my main work window, and I'm going to zoom in for higher details and things like that. Alright, so enough yada yada yada. We're going to start, and we're going to paint today a Monster Cutie, because that's the name of the site. So first we're going to start off with just a line sketch, a loose sketch, and I use a lot of shortcuts, so I'll try to remember to tell you what I'm hitting on my keys. So you hit your B button, right click, and grab a brush. I'm just going to grab this simple hard edge with opacity turned on. Oh, I'm using a cheap little graphite tablet. There are other tablets out there. I like Wacom. It's the only tablet I've ever used. Alright, so we're going to start, and we're going to do a little cute monster. I'm going to pick a brownish color. When I pick my colors, I always pick from the color picker instead of the swatches that are set up, or the color wheel. I don't like using the sliders, and there are different options here, but I don't like the sliders. And the swatches are always way too saturated for my tastes. So I always go to the color picker and just slide around, find a shade that I like. Okay, so we're just going to start drawing in just a loose sketch. When I'm kind of chubby, the chubbier the cuter. And we're going to cheat a little in the background. We're going to pretend that he's in a photo studio. So we'll have like some easy texture on the background. So he'll just be standing there. Cute little eyes. He's got that lip thing going on. Alright, so now I can zoom in on my work window here, and I can open that up a little bit because I have a little bit more room. And to make the hand appear without you going over here to the hand tool, press your space bar. This is great because once you let go, it goes back to the tool that you were using. So let's say if I have the brush activated and I want to add in some detail on the side over here, I just hit the space bar and move over. So quick tip, quick shortcut. Okay. So this is a very sloppy sketch, and you can use this technique for painting more complex things like people or bigger creatures or more detailed stuff. But for brevity's sake, and because I like cute monsters, and the site name is Monster Cutie, we're gonna just do like a cute little turd here, turd monster. See, he's got giant folds of fat that are covering his ankles. Okay. And he's got to have chubby arms. So there's his underarm fat. And so right now I'm using kind of a medium-sized brush. If I want to change the size of the brush without the slider up here, this slider, I can use my keyboard shortcuts. The brackets, the left bracket makes it go smaller, the right bracket makes it go bigger, and the brackets are next to your P key on your keyboard. So if you are using a Wacom Intuos 3 or the new Intuos 4, they have touch wheels and touch sliders that you can use to change the size of your brush on the fly. That's really the ideal method for doing it because you don't have to stretch out for your keyboard. Alright, so this is looking kinda decent. We got a little tail here. Maybe give him like a little floppy ears. Some hair maybe. Don't forget to save. Okay. What else do we want to do? Maybe indicate some kind of belly thing here. And we've got our little monster. Okay, so that looks pretty cute. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to block in some of the volumes, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to start shading now. We're going to stay with this brownish monotone color. I forgot to mention I'm working in Photoshop CS3, but it really doesn't matter what painting program you use. You can use this technique for pretty much any type of painting that you're going to be doing. We start first with a digital with a sketch. You can scan in a sketch or you can draw it all in your digital program. Then we're going to block out our shapes, render some volumes in a monotone color. So we're just going to use a brown monotone scheme for this guy, and then we're going to start overlaying colors. Not sure how long that's going to take. We might do that in a second video. Depends on how fast I go. But this is all very straightforward. It's sort of like, you know, a traditional watercolor workflow. You render your watercolor painting in, you know, a charcoal or pencil, and then once you get a decent black and white thing going, you start laying in your colors. So we're going to start laying in some values and forms right now, and we are going to change brushes, and I will show you my very favorite brush. I have it set up right here, but I'll show you how to make it right now. So in your standard brush set you have these chalk brushes. Grab this ugly one right here, and you notice the default, this is the wrong one. You want this one. Aha. So when you use it default, it's just a solid chalk thing with no opacity, no value. And to change that, just go up to your brush options up here, and you have these guys here. You want to change your other dynamics, and you want to turn opacity jitter to pen pressure. Wait, this is a dual brush. Turn off dual brush. Okay, so yeah, turn off dual brush, turn on your other dynamics, and you've got a nice chalk brush here that you can use to build up your forms and things like that. So we're not worried about lighting right now. We'll get into lighting later, but I do have a lighting source in mind. I kind of want it to be over here, but we'll deal with that later when we start laying in some more colors. So I'm upsizing my brush here, just laying in some big tones. Just lay out, cover the whole guy, and then start going back in and just going wide to tight. So wide to tight meaning using a wide brush and then zooming, making it smaller. So wide to tight. And normally when I do this I have some music in the background, but I wanted to, I don't have the rights to broadcast that stuff, so you get to hear me, you get to hear the fan of the computer as it heats up, overheats. Alright, so this process is I just want to block in major forms. I'm not trying to get too much detail in here. I'm not doing scales or anything like that. This is just to give myself a base to work with when I start laying in the colors. Okay, here's a neat trick. Now I want to go back in with some other shades, so I'm going to hit the X key on my keyboard, and you'll notice the colors switch. So the foreground color becomes the background color, and now I can pick up this grayish brown tone. If I hit the Option key and let go, hit the Option key, my eyedropper pops up, and then I can tone back some of these edges here. So the Option key is your friend, the space bar is your friend, all of these keyboard shortcuts are your friend. They will help you tremendously, make you paint faster. And then to hit the X key, I can bring back that darker brown, tone that up. Maybe I want a mid brown. I want to keep hold of my starting brown. It's nice and dark. I like that color. It's a nice base to return to. So I'm going to stick that in the background again, grab one of these mid tones, and then start working in that way. So don't worry about going over your line art or erasing your line art, because you're just playing around. You're just painting around, trying to find forms, trying to build up forms where they lie, where you think they lie, building up volumes, rounding out shapes. So you can do this in Photoshop, you can do it in Painter, you can do it in Sketchbook Pro. Sketchbook Pro is a nice program. Like we said, we're not worried too much about precision here. We're just worried about blocking and stuff. Here's another brush that I like. It's another one of those standard brushes, but I just turned opacity on. This kind of has a natural brush feel to it. You can see the edges. It has a tooth, little bit of tooth. You can see like right here. So it almost acts like bristles. Okay, I want to keep things pretty neutral. I don't want to darken things too darkly, and I don't want to put in too high of highlights. So I just want to keep everything in this mid value. And I want to fart on the microphone. Okay. See, he's losing his eyes there, but that's okay. We'll tone them back up. We'll bring them back up. Okay, so now we'll just keep with this brush. See how it's got a nice painterly edge to it? That's pretty sweet. Okay, and then we want to tone this back up. Oh, if I was a good singer, I could sing. We'll deal with the hair later. I like the arms. They're looking properly chubby. Arms are looking properly chubby. So you notice I hop around the composition quite a bit. I don't want to concentrate on one area too much. I don't want to over render things at this point. I'm just, again, I'm trying to block in as much value as I can. Just trying to get these shapes to emerge a little bit. Nothing terribly detailed at the moment. It's also nice to work with such a cute little guy because he's not so detailed. I don't have to worry about going in hyper detailed with scales and that kind of thing. So we want to Well, I don't know, maybe his toes will be pink later, so, but I want to emphasize these folds of fat. Fatty leg knees. Whee! They kind of look like they skirt out from his tome. Hello, little tome. Oh, don't forget to save. Save. Repositioning my body. All right. So a little bit more detail on the toe. Maybe get some more hand details. I think I want the hands to be like just little claw kind of things, nothing terribly fancy. So there we go. Claws, claws, claws. I'm trying to get a little pout thing going here with his mouth. His lower lip is sticking up, so let's work on some of this here. Tone some of that back. Nothing is cuter than monsters with eyes that are terribly far apart and underbites. Underbites are awesomely cute. Alright, we're not going to worry about a skeletal structure here. We're just going to push in and push out what looks good. Okay, that looks like a good starting point for laying in colors. You can still see some of the sketch in the background, and that's okay. We'll take care of that. This is me anally trying to clean up the background, but whatever. Alright, so he's looking pretty good here. I think we're ready to lay down some color. So before you do that, you want to save. And I am going to take a quick break. Oh wait, no, I want to get rid of this line here so I don't trick myself. I am an artist, so I'm not the most intelligent person, so you don't want to trick yourself in rendering things that you don't need to render. Alright, so now we're going to save. We're going to take a break, or I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to try to think up a good color scheme for him, and then I will return. So, for now, yeah, we'll break for now. Alright, I'm back. Not that you noticed. But yeah, okay, so I think I want to go with a green kind of overall hue. I'll make it easy, sort of like a green skin and a yellow belly, because he looks kind of like he's related to dragons, and dragons are green. Not always, but screw it. Looks good. Alright, so you notice that up until now I've only been painting on the background layer. So again, that's why this is one of the most straightforward techniques. You just paint everything as you see it, and then, you know, paint over it like you would on a canvas. No hidden tricks, nothing too fancy. But we are actually going to start using layers now, and we will start by creating a new layer, and we're gonna set this layer to well, let's see, if my sketch was more detailed than it is right now, I would set it to color, because it would just color my line art a single shade of whatever I decided to do. So let me demonstrate. So let's grab us a nice medium green here. And then we'll grab my chalk brush, my favorite brush, and so we'll start painting in the green, and you'll notice it just colors anything that's been shaded this kind of green color, which is, I guess, kind of nice. Not entirely what I want. So for this particular project, I'm going to set this layer to multiply. That's more like it. This is going to give me a lot of values to play with when I collapse it down. I am not staying within the lines. I know the lines are supposed to be your friend, but I am being kind of careless because I can always go back and paint out that stuff. For now, I'm just concentrated on getting some good colors down. So to clean it up, I'm just gonna grab this white out here and just start painting out the colors. Yeah. I'll probably finish off the as I block in more of the colors, I'm probably gonna go outside the lines again, but this will just help make things a little bit more clear. Alright, so what did I say? Yellow belly? Yellow belly! Nice medium yellow belly. There we go. So while I'm doing this and boring you all to death, let me talk to you about my philosophy about color. When you see objects in real life, your brain knows that it's one color, but your eye sees multiple shades. So for instance, if you see somebody walking down the street with a white t-shirt, if you actually took a look at that white t-shirt in a photo and spent some time looking at all the different hues that are in that shirt, it's not a pure white. You're not going to get this color white here. You're going to get hues of the surrounding tones. You're going to get some skin tone in that in the fabric. You're going to get some of the trees, some of the other fabrics that are on there. You're going to get slightly colored shadows, so it's not going to be just a gray shadow. It might be a cool blue shadow, or depending on the time of day, it might be a nice reddish shadow or an orange tinted shadow. So when it comes time to color, painting in your colors, don't just concentrate on the primary color. Like right now, this looks pretty dull. It looks like a monotone green. This looks like a monotone yellow. There's a lot more colors in here that we can play with. We can put in some yellows up here. We can put some reds around the cheeks, around the lips here. We can put in some blues and purples to cool off the shadows. We can do a whole bunch of stuff. These are just, what we're doing right now is just laying out color guides for us to build our final palette on. I screwed up. So what I did here was I swatched the shade instead of the pure green. So I'm going to turn off the background, grab my green, turn it back on, and do that. So yeah, so when you're coloring things, don't just worry about the primary shade. Don't just go in there with different shades of green or different shades of yellow here. Add some contrasting tones. You know, be playful. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to painting digitally, or when it comes painting in general. You just, if it looks good, you know, that's the way it's supposed to look. We're gonna add some pink in the toes, because toes are cuter when they're pink. And we might tone up some, we might add some red in the cheeks. So I'm gonna use a soft brush at a big size and then just brush some of that in here. See, already we've made this green a little bit more interesting because we added the pink. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this basic layout of the colors. I'm gonna save, yes. Oh, in CS3, if you have not created any layers, it'll ask you if you want to maximize compatibility. I always leave that because I have different versions of Photoshop on different machines. So one of the things that I know a lot of people like to do with their paintings is create a whole bunch of layers, and I tend to keep everything on one layer just for simplicity's sake. If you're working on a job and you're not sure about your client, or your client tends to give you a lot of notes, it's a good idea to keep everything on a separate layer. That way you can make color changes fairly quickly. But if you're painting for yourself and you're just looking to have fun, go to town. Just be brave. Flatten it. Just go ahead and flatten it. So the easiest way for me to do this is to use the Control-E key on a PC, or for the Mac, you get that funny Apple key E, and you'll notice I have merged my color layer to my background layer. So now I've got all this beautiful color locked in. Alright, so let's see what we've got here. We've got some nice green tones here. I'm gonna swatch in some purples and some blues. Just have some fun. Now there are some amazing artists who work with just a mouse, and I am not one of them. I use a tablet because of the pressure sensitivity. So my suggestion to all of you out there is to get yourself a tablet of some sort, because this pressure sensitivity is a godsend when it comes to just dropping in light shades of color. Oh, let me hide that so I can see what's going on in the tail here. Right. So when I'm doing this, I'm also swatching using the Eyedropper Tool a lot to grab some of the tones that I've created just by brushing in some of this blue or some of this purple. I find that I use the Eyedropper Tool quite a bit when I'm doing my paintings. So one little frustrating thing here, and I know it's hard to tell, but I'm using a Generation 1 Graphire. It's really not the best. I mean, it's okay. It's an okay tablet, but it's only got 512 levels of pressure sensitivity, and I can tell. So I might switch out tablets for future demos and use one of my my other ones lying around here. I just wanted to get something up here quick because I know I've been promising people I would be doing these, and I just haven't delivered yet, so I wanted to get this out with no fuss, no muss. Alright, so we're toning in, we're putting in some decent tones here. We're building up the forms with color, playing with the light. So we have our main light coming from above. We'll say he's at a photo studio where they've got the nice matte background in the back. We'll put in a texture in the background sometime as we go on with our building of forms here. That little highlight there indicates a fold. You can see the fold over of fat here. It's a little harsh, so I'm gonna tone it back. I don't want it to be such a harsh fold. I kind of want it to be like a lump. What else can I say? You know, just have fun when you're getting into this. You know, just experiment. Try different colors. Try different techniques. Try different brushes. I'm only using a handful of brushes, but I know a lot of people like to make custom ones that do all sorts of quirky, weird things. Blender is popular. Blenders are popular. I don't use blenders myself. But you know, here's the the smudge tool. You can use the smudge tool to, you know, soften things up. I don't like using the smudge tool at all. I usually just hand paint my blends, cause I'm a moron. No, I just like I have this stupid philosophy that if I can't physically paint it, then I don't understand what's going on, and I'd like to understand how the light is interacting with my shapes. So it's this weird thing where I choose to hand paint a lot of my special effects and a lot of my textures and a lot of that stuff. And you know, honestly, there's really no reason to do that. There are a lot of shortcuts. There are a lot of customized brushes that you can make that would make your life a lot easier. And actually, when I'm doing some of my other work, where speed is of the essence, I do use some custom brushes. But by and large, I try to keep things as simple as possible, and you know, because I don't want I don't want to overthink it too much, like I am with these legs here. Okay, I gotta move on. Alright, this shadow is a little harsh here. I want to tone this back a little. That's a little less painful. Maybe tone this one back a little bit. Bring that up in here. I tend to move pretty quickly when I paint. You don't want to dwell on one area for too long, but you also don't want to drag out your technique. You want to make quick strokes. You know, I treat my digital paints like I would regular painting. You know, just quick strokes. Just get your stuff on the palette. Get what you see. Get it down on your canvas as soon as possible. No fuss, no muss. Let's see here. What have we got here? I'm gonna put in some light green up in here. Just very light, very light. Just kind of tap it in here. Tap, tap, tap. Happy trees. Feel your happy monster. See that? Just tap in your color with a little phthalo blue. Kind of like this crease mark here. That was a happy accident left over from the sketch. I think I'll try to, oop, too late. Try to emulate that on this side here. Crease marks. Maybe put some in his elbow. Doesn't show up so well here, but we'll fix that. We'll build up those shapes. Switching brushes. Here's my, I like to call this my bristle brush. Really, the bristle brush is another standard brush with opacity just turned on. I think it's, where is it? It's one of these guys in here. No, it's one of these guys. One of these guys with the opacity turned on. So they're easy to create. There are people out there who make their own custom spatter brushes, and one of my other Photoshop installs on another machine has a custom one that's pretty nice. But you know, standard ones are decent for you. We'll talk about creating custom brushes in another tutorial here at Monster Cuties. Yeah, just playing around, finding colors that are pleasing, finding contrasting colors. You know, maybe the belly needs some pink in there. Maybe that, instead of like a hot yellow highlight, we can tap in a pinkish hue to it. Okay, maybe that's too pink. Screw it, we'll just grab that and tone it up. I like that. That's not too painful. And then we'll use a green, a bright green. Yeah, bright green for a main light here. Spread that out. He's turning out okay. I like what's going on here. Tone this down a little bit. Bring this arm. I'm trying as much as possible, trying to paint out these harsh edges, because I don't want it to look, I want it to look somewhat painterly, but also somewhat realistic from a distance. So, you know, nothing too harsh, nothing too glaring. Let's give these toes some attention here. We're gonna tone them up with this dark pink color as a good base, so we can capture the silhouette of the toes. I talk about silhouette a lot in one of the Monster Cutie entries. The silhouette of your shape is almost more important than all the crap that goes on inside it, so you want to make those silhouettes strong. I like this, whoops, I like this darker pink, so border brown, so we'll stick that up in there. Go back over the side and tone that down, yeah. Alright, save. Alright, so we're going to use this original pink and we're going to put in some banding because banded pinky toes are so cute. 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 Cutie. Alright, you notice this is not as pink as it was before. That's okay. It's got this brown stuff. We can hit it with a brighter pink to bring out some of that highlight. So we're going to go over to here and grab us a really nice pink there and start painting that in. Paint that in. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Not bad, not bad, not bad. We got some creases to deal with here. So we'll tighten up that shape, make it look like a shape. And do the same on this side here. Grab some of that and bring that out, yeah. Soften it up some. Soften it up. And then we'll, yeah, let's try a yellow. Like a yellow here, yeah. So just tone it in. Tone in that highlight a little bit. Give that a little bit of a nice tone to it. There you go. I like that yellow for the highlight. I think I'll add some of that to this guy up here. Let's work on his elbow folds. Elbow folds! Bring that around. Bring that around. Nothing is cuter than a fat, chubby monster, folks. Chubby monster, chubby monster. Chubby monster! Chubby monster! What happened here? Tone is back. Yeah, get some of that. Alright, so now we will give us a little bit of highlight with this yellow here. It's ever so subtle, ever so subtle. Alright, we really must do something with the hands. I like this pink, so I will use that for the hand shape here. I want it darker. So, whoa, too dark. Desaturate that a little bit. Get out some of the surrounding colors. Oops. Grab it back. His arms are not even, and what you can do if you screw up like that, you can tell people that, well, you know, that's the way he is designed. Monsters aren't always even. Because evenness is not monsterly. Remember that, folks. Evenness is not monsterly. So, we here at Monster Cuties strive for, well, we strive for entertainment. So you basically get the idea. Just have fun with your illustrations. Go in, find colors that work well for you. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to screw up. You can always paint things over. Here you go. And in the end, it's all about doing work that makes you happy. So that's all that really matters. If you enjoy what you do, that's the best you can hope for. Alright, I like this pink, so I'm gonna put some of it in the ears, like so. Again, don't forget to save. Save! Give it a little bit brown on the inside of the ears. That's not the brown we want. That's the brown we want. There you go. And if we want to fake some transparency at the tips, what we can do is we can paint in a really hot pink. That'll make it seem like there's light peeking out of his ears, at the edge of his ears. So we'll just paint in some of this hot pink on the ear. Ooh, too much hot pink. And we'll go back in and we'll you know, we'll clean up the edges. Should we do that on the tail? Yeah, why not? Let's add in some subsurface scattering to his tail. Subsurface scattering is a trick of the light. It's what happens when you put your hand up to the sun and you can see the webbing in between your fingers. It has that pink fleshy tone. That's the light bouncing inside of your finger and bouncing off the blood and reflecting that. So that's what we call subsurface scattering. That's the phenomenon. We're using this soft round brush to shine up his tummy. He's like Buddha monster. If you rub his belly, it's good luck. Maybe I flattened him out too much. Did I move? Yes, I moved. I did not want to move. There we go. One of the things I like about the new CS series is CS3 and CS4 have these collapsible menus, so it gives you a lot of excellent screen real estate when you're working on your paintings. I like this hot pink, so I'm gonna put some more in his cheeks. Tone that back a little bit. Smooth this out just a little bit. Oops. Okay. Alright, so save. For the eyes, I'm just gonna keep them bold and not paint too much into them. I think graphically it'll have a greater impact if it's just originally black and white. So I know it's not painterly and it doesn't match the rest of the portrait, but that's the way I like to do my eyes. This funky shape. It's the only problem with this particular brush. Yeah, I should just stinking use this sucker. Okay, nah. We'll go back in. Oh no, we'll use this one. This is the hard round with opacity that we used to lay in our initial sketch. This brush used to be my very favorite until I discovered the chalk brush. Now I hardly use this brush at all unless I'm laying stuff out. Okay, I know that's not exactly painterly, but the eyes look really cute, and that's all I care about. Really cute eyes, so. And we'll tighten up this mouth line a little bit. This is when a Cintiq would help because then I can draw to the side and pull this line to the side, you know, turn my canvas. And when I'm working on paper, I turn my paper a lot because pulling straight down, pulling in downward fashion is a lot easier than pulling towards the side, which is what I'm having to do with this mouth line here. So that's where the Cintiq comes in. The Cintiq is Wacom's monitor tablet. So it's like you're drawing on the screen. When you first use a tablet, it's kind of a paradigm shift because you're drawing on your lap or on your desk, and what you're drawing is showing up on a monitor in front of your face, and it's a slight disconnect. It takes a while. Once you get it, you're good to go. But that initial encounter with your Wacom is sort of a disconnect. You kind of gotta go, I gotta really think how to do this. So um, the Cintiq, the monitor tablet, is the best, is one of the best tools for, you know, serious people, serious digital painters who can of course afford it. But it's great because you don't have to change the way you think about art. You just paint on the screen. You don't have to spend time retraining your brain patterns and getting into this new paradigm of, oh, if I draw it on my lap, it appears in front of my face. And granted, once you get used to it, it's not that big a deal, but I tell ya, the few times I've used a full-size Cintiq, man, it just makes it so much easier. Makes your stuff so much faster. Okay, so I'm happy. There's more I could do with him, but there is also the farting that needs to happen. Really gassy today. There is over-rendering stuff, and I don't want to over-render it. Plus, I don't want this to go on for 8 million hours. One last thing to do before we drop into background and do some final tweaks is to go back in and fix your lines. So I am using the hard round opacity brush to paint out some of these edges. I don't want to just use a regular hard brush to you know, to paint out a harsh line. It'll just look kind of funny. So I'm using this this opacity brush to paint out the lines, or to paint out the outline of the guy. Another way to do this would be to start off with a silhouette on a layer and set that layer to preserve transparency, so that you'll never lose your silhouette. You'll never have this problem of painting outside the lines. So there's that way. I can show you that way. I'll show you that way maybe next time or sometime after that. I will tell you that doing it that way, where you set up a silhouette first and then paint in your details, makes dropping in a background much easier, because you don't have to repaint out the figure, which we will have to do for this guy. But that's okay. I told you this is the most straightforward method. I didn't tell you this was the most easy method. But yeah, you don't have to do any fancy layer work. You don't have to you know, use the channel box. You just get out your digital crayons and say, I want to paint a monster. Soup to nuts, this is how you do it. Brazil, la 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 la. This is where the music in the background helps when you're doing a pretty menial task. Oops. La 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 la. Alright, we're almost done. I will show you a few finishing techniques. that you can use to enhance your digital paintings. We didn't work on a background today because I'm a lazy bastard. But also I just wanted to do something nice and quick that I could just show you some different ideas for how to build up tones and colors and things like that. So he's kind of, I don't want to say dull, but kind of a dark and monochrome kind of tone. So there are a couple of ways we can get around this. We can use our adjustment layers, and adjustment layers are nice because you can always turn them off if you don't like what you're doing. So we're going to start with a level. Well, let's use curves. Curves are easy. And what this does is it places an adjustment layer above your bottom layer, and anything below this adjustment layer will be affected by any adjustments you make. Henceforth the name adjustment layer. And we'll just dial this down, play with it a little bit. There's a little more contrast here. You know what? Screw it. I don't like curves. We'll use excuse me. We will use levels. Okay. So there we go. We're dialing in some more contrast here to make him look a little bit more impressive. Okay. And then we'll dial down the opacity of the adjustment layer, just so. So this is before, this is after. Just a little bit, just a little enhancement to kick it up a few notches. He's on a white background, and that's not always ideal. We can pretend he's in one of those photo studios where it's a white backdrop, but we do want to kind of anchor him to the floor plane somewhat. So what we're going to do is we're going to swipe one of the darkest colors on his body, and we're going to use a soft brush and just paint. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to use the good old hard edge opacity brush, and we're going to paint in. We're going to paint in a loose shadow here. Alright, you notice I've covered up his feet. That's okay. We're going to paint out a layer mask, but hold on, just before we do that, we need to make this shadow look a little bit better. So oops, I wanted an eraser. So we're going to start erasing out some of this stuff. And the reason why we use a color instead of just a straight black is that when you have an object of color next, like on a white sheet of paper, and there's a harsh shadow on it, the shadow actually picks up some of the color of your object. So like if you have a red ball and you put the red ball on a white table, you'll see the shadow as it gets closer towards the red ball has some of the red inside it. So that's why we take a greenish value for the shadow, and this is something I do not want, so I will delete it. Alright, and this is one of the few times I will use a filter. I want a motion blur, slightly side to side. Hit that, and then I want a Gaussian blur. Hit that. Move it slightly down. I'm still painting in some of the shadow here. Alright, and now instead of erasing bits of the shadow that I don't like, what we're going to use is called a layer mask. Layer masks are very powerful. They can help you control a lot of things. So the way I like to do it is select all, go to layer, layer mask, reveal selection. Alright, now next to your layer is this this is the mask. It's all white, which means everything gets shown. As soon as I start painting in black, it starts to disappear. And it also looks like that shadow is not going to be dark enough, so I'm going to darken it up here. Alright, we'll paint back in some of that green later. So you want to go over to your layer mask, turn this opacity down so you can see your feet below and what you're doing. And let's go back with our friend the hard edge opacity brush and just start painting in those feet. Oops. Get as closest to the edge as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. But again, this is why sometimes using layers is, when you start out, is very helpful. Because if we had created a silhouette first and then started painting in our colors, all we'd have to do is really just work on the background and not worry about doing this kind of thing. So I just made more work by myself I just made more work for myself by not planning ahead. But again, I wanted to show you how basic this technique was and how easy it was to just get started without having to muck around with planning. Because who wants to plan? You just want to draw, right? So let's turn this back up and see what we're missing. Alright, so I need to paint out this guy here. Paint out this guy here. We can just do marquee. Ooh. There we go. Oh, and for that I did option delete key, and that fills your selection with the foreground color. So that's another shortcut hint from me to you. So turn this back on. I'm getting messy in here, but that's okay. Alright, now you notice that this black shadow in the middle of this guy is way too harsh. So we're gonna change that. We're gonna fix that. So we're gonna see what he looks like down there. Okay. So first off, we gotta fix the rest of the shadow here. Fix that. Alright, so go back over to your main layer, and you'll see when your layer mask is selected, you'll see the crosshatch, the double outline around the layer mask. When the main layer is selected, you will see the double outline around the layer. Alright, so turn on preserve transparency, and that way you can paint into your shadow without going over your shadow or outside the bounds of your shadow. Let's pick up some of this green here, and I want one of these guys. Okay. Not quite. Not quite. Let's gray it up a little bit. That's not quite what I want either. A lot of times you just gotta play and see what you like with your shadows. I'm gonna turn this edge down a little bit. It's starting to look a little bit better. A little darker around the edges. Still want to add some green tint to it. Not too much. So this white here. Okay, we're getting pretty close to done. There are two more things I want to show you. One of them is another filter that sometimes makes things look pretty cool. So duplicate your layer just in case this looks like crap. And go to Sharpen and hit the Unsharpened Mask. And this is okay, but it doesn't really. What the Unsharpened Mask does is it sharpens the edges of your painting. So without it, this is pretty soft. Let's see if we can zoom in here. So if you see that it's pretty soft in the eye area, but when you turn it on, it has a harsher edge. Sometimes for concept art or game textures, people use the unsharpened mask to make things look a little bit crisper. So that's what it looks like with it. This is what it looks like without it. Kind of like it without it. So what we'll do is we'll keep it on and we'll just take its opacity to 50. So you can see it's in there, but it's kind of blended together. The other thing we can do is we can add some noise to our entire composition. So we're going to create another layer and we're going to fill it with a gray. So for this one we want, let's see, a 50% gray. We'll just CC. There we go. Neutral gray. Hit that. Fill the whole composition with the gray. Go to noise, add noise. You want monochrome, Gaussian. Let's see, 10 or 30. Screw it, 30. Set to overlay. Soft light. Play around with these settings. Hard light, no good. Soft light, overlay. So, and then let's blur that by a bunch. And we'll dial the opacity way down. To like 30. Maybe 10. Yeah. So that gives it a little bit of a overall texture. Okay, so let's take a look once again. This is what our guy looks like when we're done with him. We added an adjustment layer, we added a shadow, we added a unsharpened mask, and a little bit of film grain. And that'll do it for this demonstration. Hopefully y'all didn't fall asleep by now. And thanks for tuning in, and hopefully next time we'll have something a little bit more complicated. Maybe we'll do something with a background, or we'll talk about inking, or we'll talk about cell shading. I'll figure something out. But for now, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye.